So, Jameson and Christina, man, it's so good to see you. Jameson and Christina Ash, you guys were at Aldersgate for a while. Give us a little rundown on that. When y'all lived in Lubbock, you went to Aldersgate. Just tell us a little bit about that before we get into what you were called to and what you've been up to since then.
Okay. Well, we went to Aldersgate about 2012 to 2015. And during that time that we were there, we were really involved in the Lubbock community as well as at Aldersgate. Jameson was actually on the outreach committee. And I remember when, we would go door to door and, try to just pray for people. And I just have so many good memories there. You guys helped me support my family in the Philippines. I remember we had a egg rolling party. They're called lumpias. And we were able to raise about $2,000. And someone from Aldersgate, sent us or helped us get to the Philippines to help my family rebuild after a hurricane. And and then in 2016, we joined the Peace Corps and went to Ukraine.
Yeah. Man, I forgot. Sorry, help me, Christina. Lumpias?
Lumpias. Yes, and we rolled over 200 dozen.
Yes, and I remember they were delicious. Yeah.
I started off doing it like on my own, but you guys really helped me put it on a bigger scale, and so many people showed up to help, and we just had this egg rolling party. It's a really special memory for me.
Yeah, good times. You guys have such a heart to serve. I remember that during your time here at Aldersgate, and part of that is y'all were called into the Peace Corps. And so tell us where that took you and where you landed because of that.
Okay. Well, when we first started applying for Peace Corps, we were first considered for a couple of countries in Africa, like Ethiopia and Uganda, but those ended up not working out. So we tried again, and we ended up being chosen for Ukraine, which was, they had closed down Peace Corps operations after the revolution in 2014, and they had just reopened back up for volunteers. And so that's where we went. And while we were there, I served as a TEFL volunteer, which is teaching English as a foreign language. So I worked in a lot of the schools with a team of other English teachers, and Christina worked in youth development. She worked with kids of all ages, and we also did just a ton of different clubs, like just fun clubs for the kids or English clubs. And we were extremely involved in summer camps. That was probably our strongest area. I think one summer we each worked for about 7 different summer camps all over Ukraine.
Wow, y'all were busy.
Experience.
Yeah, y'all were busy. So how long did y'all serve in Ukraine?
For 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
He was in a regular school. It was secondary school, and I was actually in a boarding school. It's called a boarding school, but it's like an orphanage.
Uh-huh.
And I had to speak all Ukrainian, but since he taught English, he could speak English all day.
So Jameson got the easy end of the deal.
But I mean, it did force me, to speak the language, and so we learned it faster, and by the end of it, it was not a problem at all.
Yeah, that's great. So, are you guys at liberty to tell us where you were in Ukraine?
Sure. Yes, we lived 3 hours south of Kyiv, in a small town called Monastyryshche. And it's there's 8,200 people who live there.
Wow. So since you came back from Ukraine, you kind of settled in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yes.
But I know that you still have a lot of connections in Ukraine, and the atrocities and everything that's happening there now. I know this has been really heavy for you guys and really hard because you have a lot of connections there still. So can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, just kind of your journey being here in the States and watching everything happen in Ukraine.
Well, living there for that long and just being everywhere. And I'll add on to what she said earlier. First, we started with 3 months of training, and we actually lived in a different part of Ukraine near Chernihiv, which is one of those harder hit cities at the beginning of this invasion. So, you know, we know a lot of people from there, and then we know a lot of people from our city. And of course, there's a lot of Ukrainians who are on the Peace Corps staff as well. And I think they really know a lot more than probably the average Ukrainian of what's going on in Ukraine right now. And so we're Facebook friends with them, and they give us a lot of information. We have many, many friends who also, they're just great sources of information, you know, better than really any news network that we can watch. You know, we can actually ask people who are over there.
Like Jameson talks about our connections, but a lot of them are also very, very dear friends. We, you know, during our time there, we were very active in trying to get to know people. So we became like family to them, and they became like family to us. And we've stayed in contact all these years. And we've actually been in daily contact since February 24th, just, you know, keeping us updated on how they're doing and, you know, where they are in transit. And so, oh, excuse me, I just lost my train of thought. But we've kept the language, so we're able to still talk to them. And sorry,
No, I love what you're saying, because you're getting firsthand reports, not news reports. So the things you guys are hearing are things that are really happening and really occurring there.
Yeah, you know, they're 7 hours ahead of us, and we actually hear the news before like a lot of the sources, you know, the media here. And a lot of it that we see is from like, you know, someone's cousin, and they sent it, and then we're like, oh my gosh, now that's on TV. And so a lot of it is firsthand. These refugee stories, we've helped refugees out of the country. These places that are bombed, we know, you know, we have, you know, some neighbors in that area. So it is really personal for us, everything that's happening.
Yeah. And I don't think we need to underestimate that or devalue that, because it's one thing to feel empathy for everything that's happening there, but you guys, I mean, like you said, these are your friends. It's different when it's very, very personal. And I know that's where you guys are at. So really appreciate you guys sharing with us about that. Because you're so connected, tell us how, for someone who doesn't have connections in Ukraine, but has a heart and wants to pray, wants to help, wants to tell us some practical ways we can do that.
You know, I thought a lot about this, and of course, the most important thing, what'll make the biggest difference, of course, is praying. But I think praying specifically, you know, for this to end, for the leaders to, you know, to come to an agreement or to come to an understanding. You know, pray for even the news media, you know, to stop spreading false information. So that's probably the most important thing, is praying specifically. If you don't know much about Ukraine, I highly encourage people, you know, to get educated about it, because I think it will also help you understand why this is happening and what this person's talking about, or what they're referencing. You know, within our circle, we've educated our family about, you know, their culture and their history. And so that's another way. You can contact your local officials. We've done that, you know, from the bottom up. And lost you. And another thing, you know, specifically for the Ukrainians, I think it's really important to show some solidarity. You know, even as a congregation, like Aldersgate is with Ukraine. Like, it really means a lot to them, because they feel like they're abandoned. And, you know, to see people, you know, saying we're with you and we're behind you, it gives them the courage or the strength, to go on every day, because they're the ones who are actually having to, to deal with the fallout of all of this. And of course, in a very tangible way, people have been donating. We know a lot of vetted and legitimate sources. And if there's something specific that you felt led to, like if it was for the animals or for refugees, or for, a defense fund, we know the people who are running those. Some of our friends and family have been sending us donations because we've been funneling it into our community, personally, to help the refugees that are coming from Kyiv into our city, and also for the Territorial Defense Fund, because they have nothing to protect themselves. And so, we'll send them money and they'll make their own body armor, or they'll create roadblocks, but, that takes money. So, and so there's different ways that you can give. And then if you didn't want to do anything, Ukraine related, we have someone here from Granbury who's actually being held in Russia on wrongfully convicted charges. His name is Trevor Reed. If you wanted to do something local, I encourage you to support that family, and help those parents bring their kid home. He's a Marine veteran, so I know that that touches some people's hearts in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just so overwhelmed listening to you guys. I mean, just talking about a territorial defense fund, that's just so foreign to us here in the United States, that we would need funding to defend ourselves. I mean, we don't even think about that.
Well, and they're not getting any money, and all these villages, there's literally been villages that have been wiped out because they have nothing to defend themselves. They're trying everything they can, digging holes in the road, so tanks can't go through. Or like I said, the recent one is we've been helping my community purchase iron so that way they can make their own body armor. I mean, they're very resourceful, but they're doing whatever they can, as foreign to us as it sounds.
Wow. So Jameson and Christina, would it be okay with you guys if we were able to get some of those links or whatever it may be to get resources to you, and we can make those public? Would that work? Would that be okay?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry, we didn't mention that we are actually part of this this network of returned Peace Corps volunteers and former Peace Corps staff, former colleagues, and it is amazing, like what our network has been able to do. And there's people creating all kinds of resources to share. There's people advocating at Capitol Hill. There's people on the ground, boots on the ground, that are getting people out of, out of the East and, out of the country if they need to. So yes, we can definitely, if you need something specific, we can get you that information.
Great. Well, we'll get that from you. And as people are able to watch this, we'll make sure that those links and wherever else we can do to help are available, and so that people can reach out and help in practical ways as God calls them to do that. So,
Okay.
yeah, I really appreciate you guys sharing your heart with us. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about your knowledge of what's happening in Ukraine, or things we can do to help, or anything of that nature?
This may be more just kind of a slightly off topic, but another, one of our connections connections to Ukraine that's really deep in our hearts. A couple of years before we served in the Peace Corps, we found out that we could not naturally have our own children. So at the very end of the tail end of our Peace Corps service, we made the decision to go through IVF, in vitro fertilization, in Kyiv. And as a result, we got 4 embryos. And so now we have 3 beautiful children, and 1 embryo is still frozen. We're just waiting for the right time to get that one going. But so for our oldest son, Joey, I don't know how the right way to say this, but basically we had him transferred while Christina was still in Ukraine. And then later, because of COVID, we had planned to go back to Ukraine to go through the next round, but because of COVID, we could not do that. So we had to hire a courier to go get the embryos and bring them over in a cryogenic tank and bring them to us here in Dallas, Fort Worth. And, just thank God that we did that, because who knows if we could even get to them, or if, that the IVF center would even still be around.
Yes. So the day that fertility clinics were bombed, that hit me really, really hard. Because that could have been our children there. And also when we were going through IVF, it wasn't just us. It was our friends, our community. We had people take us to our appointments. We had our friends come and translate. My friends from the library, they even gave me my injections after Jameson had to go home. So, our
Ukrainian friends helped us through that as well.
Wow. Such a powerful God story. And I remember praying for you two before you left Lubbock with your struggle with infertility, and just an answer to God's prayer, and not only with the IVF, but just the whole overseas, and then getting those embryos back to the United States, back to you guys. Man, what an incredible God story. And I would just add on to that for people who are watching, that even in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you guys are still part of Aldersgate. You're still connected to Aldersgate. You're part of Aldersgate Online. You get all of our digital content. And I talked in the early part about being at Aldersgate and moving to Ukraine. But even when you were in Ukraine, you connected with Aldersgate. So
yes, we watched your sermons, and then we kept that up when we returned here. And even though we attended church here, I still watch your sermons. I read all your emails, and we're actually still members of Aldersgate. We've never really felt like we wanted to move our membership away, because someday we might be back in Lubbock.
Hey, God willing, but man, we would love for you guys to be back in Lubbock and back at Aldersgate. But just so glad that you're still part of the Aldersgate family through our Aldersgate Online. And just to say, man, not only do you guys have connections in Ukraine, so it's so good to hear from you and your heart about what's happening, but that you're still very connected here at Aldersgate and your family, and we really want to be able to help. And I know that people listening will want to do that in different ways. So like I said, we'll make all those resources available. And who knows, maybe in the future we'll follow up again. You guys can give us more updates. We can kind of see where things are at as things develop. And you can continue to help us with learning how to share and what to do and all of those kind of things. So, man, with that, I think I'm going to say right now, just see you guys later, and we'll keep in touch, and we'll go from there.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you, Aldersgate.
Jameson, Christina, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you. Love you, praying for you, and thanks for everything you shared with us today.
Love you guys.